Hello, my name is Giorgio Atika, and today I want to talk about the electronic industry in Indonesia. I'm from Young Professional 68, Class A, MBA ITB. Today's material, I will talk about the market overview, market structure, cost and production of companies, government regulations, industry trend and future outlooks, and also the competitive dynamics. First, I want to tell you the story about the electronic industry. Before 1970, Indonesia imported most of the electronic products. And then at 1970, this is the first wave of the foreign direct investment. The government set the import substitution industrialization policies to enhance the joint ventures from the foreign companies to the domestic or local companies. And in this year, there are the big players in electronic industry such as Sanyo, Panasonic, Philips, and others tap into Indonesia. And in 1980s, this is the second wave of the foreign direct investment. The government then shift from import substitution or to cover the domestic needs. Then they want to export-oriented development model, or they want to export the goods or the finished goods of the manufacturers in Indonesia. And in this year, there are so many multinational enterprises that are doing offshore productions in Indonesia. And in 1990s, other countries, especially Japan, is interested in the labor-intensive manufacturing operations because Indonesia have so many young productive people, and then they invest or giving a foreign direct investment to increase the production in Indonesia, and they also, Japan can also tap into the domestic markets for their products. And now, Indonesia is focusing to increasing their production needs, especially in terms of components, and also trying to be able to enhance their export to be able to integrate to the global value chain. The market overview of the electronic industry in Indonesia. Electronic industry in Indonesia is quite significant because the Ministry of Industry released the National Industrial Development Master Plan from 2015 to 2035. Electronic industry is positioned as one of the vital actor in Indonesia growth. And furthermore, at 2018, President Joko Widodo also established the Making Indonesia 4.0 to make Indonesia to be able to tap into the industrialization fund 4.0. And this expected to enhance the GDP growth by 6 until 70% every year from 2018 to 2030. And it's also able to creating jobs for 7 until 19 million people. The GDP contribution from the industry is about 20% of the total GDP in Indonesia. And the growth is quite significant. They contribute about 202.64 trillion to the GDP, and from 2021 it is increased about 6.71%. So we can see that the electronic industry is growing and also contribute so much for the Indonesia. And in terms of employment rate in industry, especially in manufacturing, they employ about 13.6% of the total workers in Indonesia. And it demonstrates that the sector or the industry is significant for the employment rate in Indonesia. However, regardless of the GDP contributions and employment rate in Indonesia, the electronic industry is facing a deficit. The facing deficit is because of the import to export ratio is not balanced. The Ministry of Industry also published a journal called the Tantangan Peningkatan Kinerja Industri Elektronika di Indonesia, and they stated several factors that are influencing the electronic industry in Indonesia. First, the domestic electronic industry cannot compete with the influx of the foreign goods into the domestic market, which means that people tend to buy the import product rather than the locally produced product. And the second, Indonesia is heavily reliant on imports. In this case, what it means by import is about the components, because Indonesia is only up until now is only a manufacturer or assembler in the electronic market. Therefore, if they want to be able to produce, they must import the components. And this is also affected by the import duty that is lower to the finished goods as opposed to the components. So people, it's easier to buy or cheaper to buy finished goods from other countries rather than to buy the components to be able to produce in Indonesia. And there is also a little support for technology transfer. Yeah, and then the other countries' technology investment and advancement is quite faster than Indonesia. And this is will make Indonesia quite left behind. Currently, for the market of electronic industry in Indonesia, there are only 4 companies that are listed in the exchange. However, there are about 250 companies actually that are operating in the electronic industry. First, so in this case, I will make an example about the 4 company that are listed. First is the Satnusa Persada. This one is the smartphone producer and assembler. Then PT Gaya Abadi Sempurna is the manufacturer for electric vehicles. And then PT Selaras Citra Nusantara Perkasa, who are manufacturing the medical devices and home appliance. And then the PT Sky Energy Indonesia that is providing renewable energy. As from the 4 electronic industry that are listed, PT Satnusa Persada is the most biggest company that have the largest market share. From the descriptions before, we could conclude that that the electronic industry in Indonesia is a monopolistic competition. Even though there are only 4 companies that are listed, there are actually about 250 companies, and this company is operating in different segments, such as from smartphone, electronic vehicles, medical gadgets, and home appliance, and also renewable energy. In terms of smartphone, the biggest one is PT Satnusa Persada. However, in Batam itself, there are other manufacturers, but they only can make or produce a low-value goods. As a result, up until today, PT Satnusa Persada is the leading smartphone assembler in Indonesia. And even though it seems, looking at this chart, that the PT Satnusa Persada is monopolized, or even every industry in these 4 companies is monopolized each other segment. But there are other smaller companies that are also operating in the segment. And this is also supported by the government, such as I've stated before about the development master plan and making Indonesia 4.0, which are open to FDI or foreign investment to Indonesia companies, and also to increase productivity and meets the TKDN. Why I stated it is a monopolistic competition? Because first, there are many firms, and there is also a low barrier. There are everyone can tap in and exit to the from the market, and then the company is self-contained or operating independently. They use differentiation to compete, and in this case, the differentiation that they use is about the quality, branding, and also about the certification they had. Regarding the pricing decision, because of it is a monopolistic competition, therefore the marginal cost is equal to the marginal revenue, and the price is higher than the marginal revenue. Therefore, in the long run, the company will make zero economic profit. And then about the output decision, it is restricted and differentiate. The company will consider how much they will produce based on the current and the future demand, and then the production capacity itself of the company, and then the certification, and then the technological advancement. This means that there are several factors that affecting the output decision of the company. If the company doesn't have the capacity to produce X amount of unit, therefore, yeah, they have to stop. And then they also do forecasting, and they get certification in order to make their product more valuable. And also they look into the technological advancement, because as we know that in the electronic industry, the technology shift faster and develop faster. Therefore, we need to be able to adapt to the fast growing development. The cost structure of the electronic industry in Indonesia. I take it, for example, about the 4 companies that are listed in the exchange. First is PT Nusa Persada, and then PT Selaras Citra Nusantara, Gaya Abadi Sampurna, dan Sky Energy Indonesia. Based on the 4 of the company that are listed, we can see that most of the company are in the quadrant 1, in the first quadrant, which is the fixed and direct cost. While Sky Energy is quite interesting because they could manage their cost structure in the quadrant 4. What does it mean by quadrant 1 and quadrant 4? Quadrant 1 is indicate that the company will have the high amount of cost because of fixed cost, because of the direct process of the manufacturing. While in the quadrant 4, it is quite safer because the cost is variable and it is indirect for the company, which means the company will be more flexible about their money. However, as we can see from PT Sky Energy, even though they are in quadrant 4, but the direct fixed cost is also quite high. The ratio between quadrant 1 and quadrant 4 is not significant. Therefore, the PT Sky Energy must be aware of the industrial event. Otherwise, they cannot. They will affect hard by the externalities. While for the PT Nusa Persada, PT Selaras Citra, and Gaya Abadi, they must really be careful and push for growth, because of if they did not make profit, the company will be burdened by the fixed direct cost. Because if they can pay the fixed direct cost, which means the company will stop operating. Now, it's about the production analysis of PT Nusa Persada. As we can see from the graph, the PT Nusa Persada is still in the economic of scales, which means that the PT Nusa Persada still produce the big amount of the units, but they haven't met to the optimum production capacity. Therefore, PT Nusa Persada is planning to invest on machinery and robots such as the NXT3 and the robot kits to boost their outputs. While for the PT Gaya Abadi Sampurna, they already currently in the optimum production capacity phase. They already going through the economic of scales, and currently they almost meet the optimum production capacity. While for the PT Selaras Citra Nusantara, they already also going through the economic of scales and currently in the optimum production capacity, and we're just going to wait from this economic of scales. But PT Selaras Citra Nusantara itself, they are still trying to do R&D and create new items or products or enhance the existing products for the local markets. And the last one is the Sky Energy Indonesia. It is same as the PT Nusa Persada, that they just going through the economic of scales, and they are on its way to achieve optimum production of capacity. From this four production analysis, we could say that the industry is going pretty well. The industry is producing much, and also later on in the future they will receiving the zero economic profit and the most cheapest or the lowest cost to produce goods. The electronic industry is also supported by several government government regulations, and as what I've stated in the slides, I summarize it to several important regulations in Indonesia. First, there are the master plan and the on progress, and then supporting regulation. First, about the master plan. In 2015, the Kementerian Perindustrian is publishing that Rencana Pembangunan Jangka Menengah Nasional that stated that electronic industry is one of the vital actor, and the government intends to enhance the employment rate, the international competitiveness, the growth, and the technological innovations by developing substitutes for imported goods. In this plan, Indonesia is hoping that one day they could substitute the import products and produce their own, while also making the manufacturer is more bigger to be able to participate or to integrate to the global value chain. And then making Indonesia 4.0. The Indonesia try to attain the industrialization 4.0 and also be one of the top 10 economic growth in the world. And then the new and renewable energy of 20% by 2025. This is one of the Indonesia's commitment to the UNFCCC in 2017. They want to use renewable energy nationally up to 20% in 2025, and this will help the electrical industry such as from PT Sky Energy Indonesia to be able to push forward their production and distribution to be able to use and achieve these national goals. And then in last December of 2022, the Indonesian government is planning to finalize the incentive for electric vehicle automobiles. This incentive, if going to be finalized, it will be a great stimulus for the market, because people will be able to access or to buy the electric vehicles later on, and this will increase the demand of the electric vehicles, while also which indicates the increase of the domestic needs of the electric vehicle components that hopefully it can be produced in Indonesia. And this is also supported by the regulation. There are one regulations from the presidential number 16 of 2018 concerning about procurement of goods. Basically, it's about TKDN and PGN. TKDN and PDN in brief, there are menekankan, or they're highlighted, they're press the industry in Indonesia to be able to produce their goods using the in own domestic market or pembelian dalam negeri. The components or the raw materials that will be used to produce some goods must use Indonesians or the local producer. And well, for TKDN, it is the how many percent of the productions goods, how many percent of the goods is produced in Indonesia. for today, this year, Indonesia still put the level of 30 until 40%, but next year, from the news, the government try to achieve 50% of TKDN, which means every company that want to produce in Indonesia must use 50% of the domestic component. And then the last one is about Minister of Energy and Mineral Resource Regulations, that they enhance and they push the usage of the renewable energy. The TKDN and PDN is the supporting regulations for RPJMN and Making Indonesia 4.0, while the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resource Regulations is supporting regulation for the new and renewable energy. The key points, as you can see, from RPJMN 2015 and 2035, industri elektronika and telematika ICT is one of the industry andalan. And also in terms of Making Indonesia 4.0, it hopes that Indonesian electric industry can attract global manufacturers to produce in Indonesia or offshore production, and then by foreign companies step in Indonesia, they can give a transfer technology for the industry to grow, and then it will increase the workforce and also can create more competitive industry. The future trends. The electronic sectors, especially in terms of this time, it is in industrialization 4.0 and also the modernization and digitalization. Technology is must need. As you can see, technology is affecting our daily life, such as laptops, smartphones, TV, and etc. And therefore, the electronic industry will also grow according to the growth of the technological needs. As for example, the smartphone unit shipment, it is increased from 2011, and the peak is at 2017. However, it is going decline to 2022. But for the current trends, we can see that there are so many revolutionary and innovative technology product that will be launched next year, and we can see we hope that the launch will also increase the capacity of production. Will increase the production of the electronic components in Indonesia. And also about the renewable energy generation, as you can see that the solar panel is the second largest generator in the world, and such as PT Sky Energy Indonesia, they could be one of the vendors or the manufacturers to supply solar panel in whole Indonesia. As a result, we can see that from the government regulations and the market conditions, we can see that the future of the electric industry will also increase and also will also develop, not only about the growth, but also about the work field and also about the opportunities, the innovations, and the technological advancement itself. Okay, now about the competitive dynamic of the electronic industry in Indonesia. Based on ILO 2019, we can see that Indonesia is only focused on assembly and testing, and mostly they sell the product for the consumer electronics. However, to be able to be sustained in the electronic industry, Indonesia must also have to be able to produce their own raw materials and equipment, and also produce their components and subsystem itself. This is the 2 points that are Indonesia is very weak. They need to increase the capacity, and government need to push the electronic industry to be able to operating not only in the downstream but also in the upstream. And yeah, as I stated, that chemicals, silicon crystal, and metals are potential areas for Indonesia because yeah, we also we have so many natural resources here. And there are company examples in Indonesia, such as Polytron, that are able to be able to tap into the value chain in globally, such as Polytron. Yeah. Okay. So regarding of the market itself, the competitive dynamic, I compare the industry globally, not domestically, because of the global market currently needs more supplier for the manufacturing, for electronic manufacturing. Therefore, looking at Indonesia's status quo and Indonesia capabilities to enhance furthermore, furthermore, I believe that later on Indonesia can integrate themselves to the global value chain, not only for assembly and testing, but also for the components and the raw materials. This is the reference that I use. Thank you. That's all for the presentations that I have been prepared. Thank you for listening. I think that's all.